question in the chat so that Rob knows how to identify them. Thank you very much indeed. All over to you, Anne.
Right, okay, thank you very much, Sally. Yeah, morning everyone. I want to talk to you today about the trickery around expanding your business. As we all know, well, it's slightly challenging times at the moment, but one way for many businesses to actually work their way out of this and build more resilience in their business is to actually expand. It might sound a little bit illogical to do it that way. However, it does work. But what I want to give you today is a guide to actually how to expand your business and still remain in control. So by starting, I just want to start by defining, by defining entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship, that is typically what we're talking about when we're talking about expanding a business. So the actual definition is the act of creating a business or businesses while building and scaling it to generate profit. We tend to actually think of a broader definition that determines entrepreneurship to be transforming the world. And added to this, we tend to link it with some very strong and charismatic characters. This latter interpretation can actually stop us because it stops us thinking that we can be entrepreneurs or scale up. So it actually acts as a blocker. So this is why my key focus is on the more detailed definition, because as you will come to see, you follow the logic, it does open up for possibilities. So if we go into the three components to entrepreneurship, so building and scaling, that can be translated into discipline and perseverance, and creating, which is innovation. Well, if it's that easy, what is it that's holding us back? So your core beliefs and mission are part of a vision. Now you might think, well, that's very corporate language, but we all have a vision. But if you as a business owner do not have the belief that an idea is worth pursuing, then the vision's not complete. And as a result, it's most likely not to happen. Maslow, who we know from his hierarchy of needs, he actually stated that the basic question is, what vision do you aspire to? And taking that on, just clarifying that vision makes you understand your mission in life, and also it will lead to a strategy and then broken down further to tactics. And that is the key essential process, because if a great idea is not followed by great execution, innovation is most likely not to succeed. So this presentation is concentrating on the entrepreneurship that can happen within an existing business, as I say, scaling up. But most of the items are also relevant if you're starting a business, because the two are linked. So the typical reasons for it not being acted on are not quite clear what I want. I'll give you a few points of how to make that vision clearer. I'm too busy with everyday life and activities. Everyday life and activities are they can be they can be all consuming, but you have to set some time aside for actually developing a strategy. And I will give you some pointers of how it can work out in the long run. I don't have the money. So they do say you have to spend money to make money, but the key is to remain in control over how much. I'm not good enough to make it work. Coming back again to a limiting belief, it's a key factor to many expansions not happening, but is it confidence or is it lack of control? So going through them, so when the goal is not quite clear, so it should never be, setting your goal should never be underestimated. It's a vital part of expanding your business. There's no set formula for what goals you should be aspiring to. For them to truly have an impact, you should make them yours. We as humans, listen a lot to our surroundings. Everyone means well, but this particular goal setting, it has to feel true to you. When working through it, you probably realize there are things also in your everyday life or business which are actually the reason why you haven't expanded your business previously. And it's vital during this whole process to actually make an assessment of whether you want to give this up. Because there is only 24 hours a day and there is only 7 days a week. What are some of these things to give up? It could be the freedom to walk your dog for 2 hours in the middle of the day, volunteering with a local charity, or working on some self-development. But these things will be important to you because it will be things that you'll currently be doing. And you need to understand whether you really want to give them up. The goal, it will lead on to the strategy, and then it'll be broken down into tangible targets. So they're all stepping stones and all vital. So we've all heard the phrase about business owners moving from working in the business to on the business. And a key part of this is strategy. But taking the time up front to actually clearly define what you want, how to get there, and how to measure the success is vital, not just to achieving the goal, but also to make sure that you're not going to break your back in actually getting there. Very easy to get distracted by everyday life. So take time to actually write it down. It doesn't need to be an all singing, all dancing, very snazzy document. If that's how you work best, then go ahead. But just a simple document with some goals for every month or weeks, depending on how you work. This way, you can also establish if it's working. If it's not, then it's time to rethink strategy. There'll always be external factors at play. I mean, in the beginning of the year, I don't think any of us, or maybe some did, but not many of us could have foreseen where we are now. I mean, war in Ukraine, cost of living crisis, we've had the pandemic. None of these, all of these things will have an impact on the business. But having measurements in place for your business, it means that you will build in some flexibility to your strategy, and you don't waste time during each day thinking, oh, am I still on track? If your goal is quite far in future, so say you say in 2 years' time, I want to achieve X, then my advice would be to build in some in-between goals or sub-goals, because we all like to actually feel successful, and it's that feeling of, yes, I'm on track, I'm getting there. It's vital to build that in, so you can get that feeling of achievement and encouragement. So the next point was, don't have the money. So making investments into the expansion of the business might feel uncomfortable. If you're anything like me, I hate being in debt. But with a plan in place for your goal, you can actually do a forecast. So you can work out a budget, meaning that you'll minimize the stress, which is often the product of making investments. And also don't forget, your time is money. There'll be certain parts of the business and delivery that only you can do. And this is what I keep telling my clients: find out what it is that is uniquely you. So whether that is the customer visits, the actual selling, whether it's the production, anything. So if you're spending your time doing something that effectively can be outsourced, that actually gives you less time to work on the money generating part of your business. So again, it just means don't waste valuable everyday time. with doing things that can be outsourced. And you're probably starting to see a trend here in my presentation. It's measure, measure, measure. It's just making sure that you have those check-in points where you review the deliverable, and either you proceed if you're on track, or you go back and actually adjust the strategy. With spending money, you can also think about maybe the time frame can be extended. Sometimes any investments can be less impactful if the time frame for you reaching the goal could maybe be stretched out. You could also think if it means hiring more people into your business, maybe start off with a part-time or a contractor, rather than going full-blown full-time employee and putting added stress on yourself. When your goal is truly yours, you will know what it feels like when you achieved it. And this might seem a little bit woo-woo, but if you see yourself achieving it, just feel what it means to have achieved it. You're back to the key definition of entrepreneurship. We as business owners can often suffer from some limiting beliefs that we sometimes feel that, well, we're not worthy, and be a bit overwhelming. I find with my clients, a very simple method that can get people out of this is pour. So it's 3 very simple questions. So you take your goal and then you say, is it possible? Write it down. Is it achievable? As in, do you have the skills to achieve it? And then the third one, am I worthy of achieving this? When you just read it out, the last question could probably seem a little bit pretentious, but I encourage you, just think of a goal and just go through these 3 steps. Doesn't have to be life-changing, but just feel the difference at the end. So structure, planning, and delegation, the key areas for every manager, no more so during times of innovation in the business. Might be clear now and work well, however, change within the business will inevitably mean a change in the way of working, and it means to be considered not only for anyone you might employ or contract, but also for you as the business owner or for any management. Existing business must be kept running, but time needs to be made available to actually deal with the innovation. So it's ensuring those priorities are set and that you're delegating. And as mentioned before, you need to invest in the time upfront to save time later. So start from the beginning and just make a conscious decision to expand the business. It's doable if it's actioned and measured. And I want to just finish off with some 3 examples. So 2 of them are my client, one of them and the third one I wish was my client, but there we go. That can be my goal. So the first one, this is obviously wishful thinking, but if you take, so I'm talking about expanding the business, you take Coat, obviously everybody knows Coat as a restaurant chain. So it's like a brasserie, French inspiration, clientele of people who want to dine out, and families, can be for a celebration, but can also just be for an everyday meal. Well, during the pandemic, obviously the restaurant closed. Instead of only relying on takeaways, which is where a lot of restaurants went, they established what they call Coat at Home. So you could basically go in and buy the raw materials. So you could buy the steak or the whatever cut of beef, the cheese, you could even down to breakfast. I mean, I had yogurts delivered. And you could therefore create your Coat at home. So if you're looking at, it's expanding the business, but it's the same clientele, it's the same menu, it's the same marketing, but they have just expanded the business by investing in obviously the packaging, upgrading their website. The suppliers would already be in place, and off they go. My second example, so this is a client of mine. So this is not her actual shop, but she's a shop owner with 4 employees. She sells biltong. She's not in this area, so so biltong obviously is more as a snack food. It's readily available. They would have a lot of people, young people and trade were actually the sort of key focus group for them, or the key clientele. Again, during COVID, the shop had to close, so she spent money on expanding her website and actually set up subscription models. So that obviously is an expansion of her business. But because a lot of these people that she was selling to would come in regularly, by having a subscription, it meant that they didn't have to sort of keep going in every week or every 2 weeks, and how often they wanted to. They could just order it and it will automatically be delivered. Well, that expanded her business. It also made it possible for her, with this new process within her business, to actually go onto Amazon, where she's now selling biltong. And my last one is, I know you're not allowed to have favorite clients, but this one, I absolutely love working with her. She's a children's author, and her key focus is around early learning and development. So her clientele is obviously its parents, but selling books is not that profitable. So she's written these books about, she called them life's little bugs. So there's humbug and tummy bug and flu bug and all these other bugs. So she designed a program and took it into schools. But again, with COVID, then there was obviously there was less interaction from outside teachers like her. So she went on a course. She invested in a course in setting up outside workshops, so for children. So again, her clientele stays the same, but she's now expanded her business with these outdoor workshops. And she can bring her little bugs, and the children will actually engage actually more directly with the little bugs than they did at school. So again, as I said, it's the same clientele. It's a natural link with the books, but it's a sort of natural expansion. Right, I think we're coming up to the sort of 20-minute mark. So I want to say just thank you. I'm very keen to obviously connect. There's a few of you I am connected to already. Very happy to connect with any of you. I do always provide offer a complimentary one-on-one mentoring session. Business mentoring is not for everyone. As I started out by saying, a lot of people think business mentoring is for when you have a real issue in your business. I prefer to be brought in before the issue happens. Because that way we can also develop a strategy together and makes it less likely for an issue to occur. So thank you very much. I'll stop sharing now.
Thank you very much, Anne. That was very insightful, and some really good key points there to take away. And I'd like to ask Rob to see if there's any. Well, I know I put some questions in the chat. I don't know if anyone else has some questions, or they would like to put their hand up and ask Anne some questions.
Definitely. Yeah, so I thought, Anne, that was brilliant. I loved your example. I thought they were fantastic and very interesting. Talking about how expanding different people's businesses and how they do it with the same customers. So yeah, really interesting. Does anyone have any questions? There's a few in the chat that I'll ask. Does anyone have any questions at the moment they'd like to? Gemma's. Okay, I'll start at the bottom and go up. So would you always brainstorm with several people. So we do brainstorming. Is that what we've done? Is it just you and the client, or is there often a group of you? What's the best way of brainstorming?
Yeah, so if there are more people working within the business, I would always encourage brainstorming to be across the business, because and even when I go in and do a business review in a business, I make a point of interviewing everyone within the business, because everybody's got a different take on it. And it's also a business owner's goal, or a leader of a business has a goal, but people working with him or her will also have they will have an opinion of whether this is actually doable, and it needs to work for everyone within the business. However, it's not just a, yeah, do you think we can do this, or no, we can't do this. It's also, well, if you don't think we can do it, is there anything else we can do? Because they pick up different types of information. Everybody who works in a group will pick up on different things. So I think it's very important in brainstorming to let everyone's opinion come out.
Great stuff. Let's do one of Sally's questions now. So are you doing more business over Zoom or more business in person?
It's still about 50-50. I mean, when I started my business, it was all Zoom because it was September 2020. I do encourage, especially in the beginning, I encourage the face-to-face, basically because it's building rapport. When you think a lot of people, when they've made up their mind to come to a mentor, whether they're expanding their business or they have a challenge in their business or just want somebody to bounce some ideas off, it's building rapport, because it can feel a little bit like it's a tricky position for a business owner to be in, because you're almost so opening up and going, well, there's something I can't do myself, and that some people feel very uncomfortable being in that position. So I always make sure, but if it's one-to-one, I want to make sure that it's a place where people feel safe. I don't go immediately into a big, busy coffee shop, because people don't really want to sit there and go, yes, I've got a problem in my business, because they don't want everyone else to hear. That's for the person and myself. So, but following on from that, it can be Zoom. I see quite a few clients who want to, after the initial phase, and they figure out, all right, okay, no, Anne is here for me. I trust Anne now. Then we go on Zoom.
Okay, perfect. Ian, do you have a question?
Yes. Hi, Anne. You mentioned about kind of spending money to make money. I'm just in the process of launching another business. Do you think, is there a place for bootstrapping a new business? So do you have to spend money to do that, or is there a place for bootstrapping?
No, you don't. You don't have to. Most expansion requires some spending, but I'm also a key advocate for actually looking at what resources you already have. I mean, if you're on LinkedIn, for example, if you're paying for a LinkedIn premium, any of them, there might be a way that you can use that for your other business as well. Same with marketing. Obviously, well, talking about a virtual assistant, for example, well, you could expand that. If you're using a virtual assistant for your existing business, you could expand that to include your new business as well. So it's not just with expansion. Don't just think, yes, I have to start like all over and do everything again, because you've already got ready resources.
Brilliant. And another question from the floor here. So do you help people out who want to scale up, who have no idea how to scale up?
Yes, I do. So I have a couple of clients. I've got one client, for example, who's an engineer. He's based in London. He's a very talented engineer. But he refrained from actually hiring anyone. So he was using contractors for a long time, because he's so nervous around HR. I mean, he thinks the minute he hires somebody, he's going to be walked off to a tribunal. And so, well, that would make it very unlikely. However, so I have worked with him of understanding, well, get the right things in place, obviously with HR. So protect yourself, but also protect the employee, and also understand what you really want the employee to do. So setting out a strategy for, this is the org chart that we would like in the interim, or the 3-month period, 6 months, and he's got one for in about 2 years. So yeah, so that's, and it's still work in progress. I mean, he's one of these people, after 2 months, he went, right, okay, I've got it now. Yeah, goodbye. So, but he's back again, because it's not quite there. So it's the follow-up with objectives, making sure that everybody really understands what the goal is, and where what everybody's input is. So yes. But I find it fascinating. I really do, because a lot of it is also, to me, it's human behavior.
Brilliant, good stuff. And then maybe the final question from Sally. So do you offer a selection of packages for individuals and companies?
I do. I mean, I am, so I'm part of UK Business Mentoring, which is, it's a very small franchise, but none of what we do is programs. I don't have a program that runs over months and months. I don't even work with a contract. I'm here for as long as people want business mentoring, and for as long as it works for the business. What I typically start out with is just understanding the requirement. I mean, I've signed up a new client only last week. I'm having my first meeting with them today. They want a lot of work done because it's like a complete overhaul of the business, but you can't sustain that level of interaction. So I've said to them, right, okay, well, this is the pricing model and this is the interaction we'll have for the first 3 months. Let's then review it and then see where we go from there, what suits. So I do either retainer pricing, which obviously suits people who have got a lot of things, or I do hourly rates which is later on, where it's more like a catch up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, perfect. One more question, maybe time for one more question. So again, a question from Gemma, which is, what do you mean by building in measures to control the process of being too busy?
Yes, so the measures are really around, so you have your goal, you know how to get there, but how to get there is also how you use your time. So it's measuring what you're spending your time on, because, and I'm no better. I mean, I'm preaching this every day, but I do it. I suddenly spent a lot of time on my admin. So, well, I've now put 15 minutes every day in my diary. That's my allotted time. I'm not allowed to do any more. And so it's measuring things like that, because otherwise things like admin, for example, or other things that are not money generating can suddenly take up a lot of your time. So that's what I mean by measuring.
I think that's really good advice. I like that. Sometimes I can spend hours doing something that's not that important. I think having a set time a day and saying, right, I'll do 15 minutes a day. So then if I'm not, I'm not doing it now, I think, well, I've got 15 minutes to do it tomorrow and I've 15 minutes to do it. So actually I think I'm going to start doing that. I like that, because I think you think, right, it's going to take 3 hours, but if I do it in 15 or 25 minute slots, I'll get it done, rather than spending 3 hours now and not make money that I should be making,
Yeah.
Good advice. Brilliant. Okay, guys, I think that's probably all for questions. So back to you, Sally.
Great, thank you very much, Anne. That was really insightful. I also would like to mention to everybody here today that Anne's got a podcast on, and it's worth listening to. If you could just drop it in the chat for me, Anne, because there was a little tip there that I went and actioned immediately and bought myself a little microphone that's on the table now, that apparently I sound softer. Who knows? But it was Uncle Keith, don't make any comment. It would be, it's a really useful podcast to listen to. And so, yeah, check it out. Thank you, Anne. So all I have now to say is thank you for joining us today. We are, as I said, monthly free online meeting. We do have a social gathering on Wednesday, the 17th of August at the Onslow Arms in West London. There is a train station there linked there. There's a great big car park there. We'd love to see you, but do let us know, because I do have to tell the pub how many people we will be expecting. We would like feedback and any comments and positive ideas that you might have that we could offer more to this group. So please let us know then. Dave is going to send links out later with the link to the recording on our YouTube channel, so please subscribe. And we're also on LinkedIn, Instagram and Twitter. Thank you very much. I hope it was all of interest to you. Nice to meet you. And please do connect with everybody, and Dave will send all those links of all the email addresses out later. Keep refreshed, keep hydrating. Thanks, Uncle Goo. See you in August, if not before.
Brilliant.
Lovely.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sally.